Hey, we are probably live. Let's find out, shall we?
There we are.
Sorry,
I think I see you.
it's been so hello to everyone, assuming we are live. It has been we are a few minutes late because for some reason nothing wanted to let us on.
So as usual, we're not on Twitch today.
Yeah,
Quarter jar.
joy. Never mind. Sorry, Twitch viewer. Because there seems to consistently be one person plus the two of us. So hopefully you'll catch up with us here. I'm just trying to get to the
Audio.
yeah, there we go, the dashboard, so I can see if people are talking to us and if we are in fact live. It does seem we are in fact live. Marvelous. Cool. Look at that. Cool. Yes.
Love it.
So it's the end of October. What the hell?
I know, right?
It's the end of October. That is ridiculous. But here we are, nonetheless. So another thing is, guys, if you could let me know if there are any problems with the video, because again, I've been trying to get the settings right since I switched over my system here, and they still don't seem to be quite right.
Hi, Zeph.
Hey, how you doing?
We got a Zeph.
Good to have you here. I'm not going to lie, I'm expecting a very, very low turnout for today's live stream. It's just a gut feeling. It's Halloween weekend. I'm thinking there are lots of parties going on. I'm thinking other people have a social life outside of talking about instructional design. Whereas, as we all know, for me, this is kinda it. Like if no one shows up to this live stream, Tom's not being sociable that month. So for those of you who are here, thank you, and please do get involved. We have got some, I think, quite interesting conversations on the cards today.
Absolutely.
One carried over from last month, but also some others. So we're going to discuss the seemingly never-ending introversion, extraversion kind of conversation going on within L&D. We're going to talk about the shrinking of the internet, as I'm calling it, and the places where now you just can't get certain social media websites or professional platforms because that's a small market or not. We're going to talk about updates. I think for once, Storyline's made an update that I think is useful. Like, not vaguely useful, like preeminently useful.
I know which one it is. I know which one it is. I think I know.
It's almost a stupidly small thing, and I almost don't want to say well done for finally doing something you should have had since version 1, but it is now there. So, credit where it's due. Obviously,
Yes, does it have to do with a file format?
Yeah, it does. It really
does. It's so stupid it took this long.
I know, right?
Luke?
Hey, dude. So yeah, we've got those. I wrote the list of what we're talking about, and I've kind of not got it in front of me. I feel like there was also other stuff.
Yeah, we had the usual stuff, and then the IDTX stuff, which
IDTX
cool
stuff.
Shirt, by the way.
I know, right? It's last time I showed you images. Oh, we've picked up an echo. Oh dear. So yeah, last time I showed you the images, and this time it's here in person.
It's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Let's get practical.
Indeed. That's the first person to immediately get the song thing. Awesome. Anyway, before we get further into it, let's roll the intro. When we come back, let's talk beer. There's only one place for the breaking news in the world of instructional design. The ID Update with Tom and Joe. All the news you never knew you never needed. Only on IDT. Yeah, so before we jump further into it, what are you drinking tonight? Or this afternoon?
Because I know how this goes, I got smart and brought two. But the first always happens. First one though, I just realized I picked the wrong glass for this. I'm getting the last bit of summer in that I can. And I'm going with River Horse Summer Blonde. And that it's a hippo, which is a river horse out
Absolutely.
here. From New Jersey, which New Jersey is memed as the armpit of America. That's actually a thing. But this beer's really freaking good. It's so good. And for the glass, because I said that I was just doing this wrong, because I didn't think about it, I brought the Oktoberfest from River North Brewery. So we're going to put 12 ounces in Oktoberfest glass of summer beer.
Nice.
I feel like I should just drink this out of the bottle. All right, your turn.
Cool. So I have got, and I spent some time finding this. I recently spent an evening sat by the riverside in Chester with Phil from I Am, just kind of chatting about ID until like very, very late. Like at the point where the staff are looking at you in that "would you please go" face. And I was introduced to this Hint Meadow, and it's really, really good. And it's an English Trappist ale. Now that's really uncommon.
Yeah, I've never even heard of a Trappist.
This is it. Trappist, yeah. So it's a type of kind of abbey and monk situation.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Churchy stuff. And something makes them Trappist as opposed to anything else. And so they make beer.
So it's holy water.
Kind of, yeah. You could use it to ward off demons, but that would be a horrendous waste. So the flavour palette is kind of like really rich, kind of plum, aniseed, licorice. It is beautiful, but quite heavily sedimented. So you really have to let it sit.
Summer. Hints of summer in my summer blonde.
I mean,
it doesn't say anything.
Summer's not really a flavour. Like, it's a bit like when they say what flavour and someone says blue. Yeah, it's a little bit worrying.
It tastes like summer. This is so insulting. This is what I get for getting an Oktoberfest glass.
I don't really have the proper kind of glass, but this one was to hand. And I must say, it does pour nicely.
So as we're pouring beer and being boring, feel free to say hi in the chats. We are if this is your first time visiting, we are very, very engaged in chats. We are actively watching it. We actively respond.
Let us know what you're drinking, or if you're on, it doesn't have to be an alcoholic beverage. Let us know what you're sat down with.
A water or a Coors. Something non-alcoholic.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Awesome. Hey! Good to have you here.
All right. Now that we've done this,
absolutely.
Cheers. We got to do this the right way.
End of the month?
Cheers, sir. End of the month. What, 7 for us? 8?
Well, the first episode was January. So this is episode 10.
Wowza.
You know when you come up with an idea and you're like, we'll do this. I fully expect us to give up after a couple of episodes. It's one of those ideas. Nearly a whole year. Like,
heck yeah, that's pretty cool.
Kind of impressed. So
this is actually really good, by the way. This is actually really good.
Bugs good. Me. I'm glad.
Stupid New Jersey.
Fair enough.
You're supposed to taste like the L.
Oh dear.
Anyway.
Oh, that was the other topic. I forgot. Should L&D be training mindfulness? I thought that would be interesting because
I can't believe I punned that. Tastes like the L train. Training. You're welcome. You're welcome.
There
Tom.
we go. So yeah, I thought that would be an interesting little topic as well. But let's kick it off with where we kind of left off last month, which was introversion, extraversion. And we kind of touched on this last time, talking about kind of development in the space and this kind of thing. But more and more, I think on social media, we're seeing a lot about and some of it is kind of rubbish, but some of it's, I think, insightful, and some of it's just needs clearing up around introversion, extroversion within L&D roles. Can someone be an introvert and a trainer? Can someone be an extrovert and a developer?
Mhm.
Should people try to be more extroverted? And I think that's kind of the bit where I'll maybe kick it off, because it's the only bit that I get angry about, in that the
Okay.
sense of introverted people should become more extroverted. No, no, they shouldn't.
No.
And in no other area, commonly, do we say you should be someone else, because that's what
No.
that is. And it really irks me, because it seems to be put on a parallel of introverted people can't talk to other people, they hate working with others, they can't
Yeah.
present well. It's not what introversion means. I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of it.
Right. Hey, Justin, buddy of mine, coworker.
Hey,
Great seeing you.
welcome to my
Speaking of
rant.
facilitation, he's our trainer, so this will be
Ah,
fun. This will be a lot of fun.
so yeah, I will just say this topic is very opinion based and experience based. So do jump in the chat. I'm really keen to see if I'm the person and everyone else going, "Oh, would you shut up?" But it bothers me, so I'm gonna say it.
I don't think I'm not a fan of the idea of that, because I work darn near work. I play a lot of card games. I'm a big nerd. And
Mm.
one of the common things with nerd culture, especially when you're doing gaming and you're out in tournaments, is you do have very introverted people forcing themselves into something that really requires interaction and talking and the stuff that they don't like doing. And there's always a stigma around it that it's just weird. It's that the awkwardness comes in. There's no way to get rid of it. I don't want that in a professional atmosphere. I don't want to encourage that coming into the professional atmosphere. So if you're an introvert, don't try to change on my account. Get really good at writing emails, but don't try to change.
But then here's the thing as well. I don't know where this idea that introverts struggle to talk to people came from, because I'm not a little bit introverted. I'm on the extreme end of introversion, to the point where I've seen people about it. But I enjoy talking to people.
Mhm.
It's just that over long periods of time and in large groups of people, I will lose interest, get exhausted by it. It's not my idea of recreation.
Mhm.
But
So here's
I
a
would
question for you.
go for it.
Does that battery drain faster does it drain at the same speed doing it online? Like IDTX and everything you did for that. Were you draining just as fast as if that were to be in person?
um Honestly, no.
Luke's got it
This is
also.
it. Um, yes, Luke, I think that's a very good point. I
But
think the
anyway,
same.
I still want to hear
Yeah.
your answer.
So I would say it drained slower doing something like IDTX, an online event, but that had very little to do with communication with people. Because actually,
Okay.
running IDTX, I didn't communicate with many people. I usually
That's true.
did 2 or 3 minutes at the start of a session, and then some questions at the end, in which I was responsible for nothing.
Mhm.
It's kind of one of those big myths about holding a conference that you're going to be doing loads of speaking. You're not.
Mhm.
You're mostly going to be going, "Oh my god, why is the platform not working? Ah, ah, ah." Or at least that's what I did.
Who's your AV guy? All right, so fine. All right, so fine.
Yeah.
We won't do IDTX, but you recently did speak at a conference.
Yes.
So
So no, for me that I it's difficult. Can I speak at a conference in person again? That's fine. I find the battery drains faster when you're looking at it from an introversion extroversion point of view in a large social setting. Because if let's say there's a party going on, right, or there's a get together after the conference, which there often is down the pub and whatever, that is where the battery will drain faster, because there's no framework for that conversation. Who speaks
gotcha.
first? How do you have to respond? What topic should you bring up? What topic shouldn't you bring up? That's when those things come in. And I think
It's
this is where
dating.
Luke's point comes in, where it gets muddled with social anxiety and
Mhm.
awkwardness and shyness. I think shyness
Yeah.
is the one that bugs me, because I'm very
Yeah.
introverted. I am not shy. Um,
Right. Yeah,
as
God, I know
anyone
this.
who's worked with me will tell you, I am not shy. I will carefully listen and consider. I won't just throw out the first thing that jumps into my head. I'm not one for quickly on the spot, what are your thoughts? I will say, no, I'd like to go away and consider my thoughts because I believe that the immediate idea that I throw out there is probably going to be crap. And I don't
And as an
want that.
extrovert, they usually are, but I have no problem sending that out into the world.
Exactly. And to me, that's the difference. In the workplace, that's the core difference, is in those meetings where everyone's like, just throw ideas out, guys. There's no, you want the extroverts to just throw ideas out. What you don't want to do is force an introvert to try and do the same. Because all they'll do is go to heck with it.
Yeah.
They'll stop
Like, you
bothering.
need to be we need you to be the calculated ones who are not
This is
acting
it.
in. It's like, we're just gonna go there. It's like activism. It's my problem with activism.
Mhm.
Is that there's the difference between activism and actually being at the table trying to make change. They're two completely different audiences. And you need to respect that. And more importantly, you need to stop thinking that the introverts have a problem. And that's always the thing, again, even with activism. Oh, they're not here, they're not paying attention, so they clearly have a problem. It's like, no, they're being calculated, guys. There's not a flaw here.
This,
Um,
yeah, I
yeah.
would agree with that. Because story attached to exactly that, and activism. Actually, I had a really interesting chat with a friend who does a lot of protesting, and in fact, they go around the world and help people organise protests. And it's
Okay.
a really, really good thing. Don't want to turn this into a politics show, but that is very much in my wheelhouse of politics. Don't think it would shock anyone.
Yeah.
I'm, as well as being introverted, I'm about as far left as left can be. But
I mean,
setting
you are
that
very blue right now. Like,
well, yeah,
literally
I suppose
blue. Okay.
blue is the kind of left color in the States, isn't it? Here it's the opposite. Blue is the color of the establishment and the
Oh,
and the corrupt and
I
whatnot.
feel like I should just change my shirt now.
But yeah, there we go. But setting all that aside, they do that, and they said to me, why don't you go out and do more of that? I said, I won't lie to you. I said, because I've got very limited time in my life, limited energy, and for me, I'm in a position where I run a small business. The most high impact thing I can do is say my small business will be carbon neutral. Doesn't involve going out and shouting, and it involves doing something because I have the ability to do that. Most people don't have the ability to do that, in which case, let's say going out on a protest is a positive thing you can do. But how you do it is a different argument. I don't really want to get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think it's clear. I think it's
a
clear.
prime example.
So bringing it back to L&D and maybe how did we get here? It's if you're extroverted, if you're loud, if you're in front, it shows passion, it shows confidence, and it shows you're the one at the start of the conversation. You're the one who is being listened to, where that doesn't come so easily across with introverts. So if I were to take a wild guess, and I'd love the chat to help out, is how did we get to extroversion is the right thing in L&D, or the better thing in L&D might simply be, if you're more extroverted, that comes with the assumption that you're also influential, that you're also going to naturally be listened to, and introverted trainers are not those things. That's my guess. That's where we're going to go with that.
Well, just on a but guys, do let us know what you think of that, and I'll go through some of the comments in the chat in a second. But here's an interesting point.
Okay.
There are treatment schemes for introversion, not for extroversion.
What? I never heard of this. Going to Google.
Is your child too quiet? Struggling to connect with others? Send them to a doctor. They need to be medicated. It's, as much as I think it does, we talk about it in L&D because of introversion, extroversion, and we like to do stupid analysis games for people in training sessions for some reason still. But it's not just an L&D problem. From the very start of the introversion extroversion conversation, that also fell in line with a shift where we moved from, globally, as the human race, we stopped assessing people on maybe their quality of their input and outputs in life, and we started assessing them based on personality. Personality suddenly became this huge deal, right? All of a sudden, we wanted world leaders to be charismatic. That is not a useful skill for someone running a country. I'm sorry, it's not.
Right. You need
I
to be
want
stable. Okay.
competent, engaged, and we want the same thing in the workplace, right? And I feel like sometimes that just carries over. We are
Okay.
we are kind of told that being all those things is a good thing. Being quiet, withdrawn, considered. Those are not terms that you ever see on a job spec.
Right.
But the flip side of that is once people are in positions, that person who sits through a meeting in silence for like 30 minutes while everyone else is talking and then suddenly speaks, usually everyone listens to.
Uh, I have to take. I'm that jerk sometimes.
It's but that's what I
Like
mean.
if it's quiet, I have to say something. Like nothing drains my batteries like quiet in a meeting.
Yeah, and that's the
Like I
opposite
have to be
side,
jerk.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So many good comments coming in. We should
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive into those.
including Suarez, who I'm mad how accurate you are at that, buddy. L&D tie-in, extroverts read all the learning objectives up front. I know. Oh man, that's cruel. And for those of you, again,
they
for
know
those of
which
you
bits they
who
can just skip over.
haven't watched us before, our relationship with learning objectives is just we're not the best of friends. Kind way to put that.
Indeed. So let's have a look. So Luke's come in there. Oh, actually, I've got one for Phil. In fact, nearly didn't get a job because I was borderline not extrovert enough for them. But that is, you look at the number of job descriptions that does ask for someone who is charismatic, outgoing, enjoys working with a team. It's all code words for extrovert.
Yeah.
Because you can't get away with saying must fit in here anymore.
It's fair.
But this is why I maintain any business that says sorry you're not a cultural fit. That's poor. That's not feedback.
I've had that before. Oh, I hated that. I liked that job too, or I liked that opportunity.
Yeah, but that's to me that is just you're not the same as us, and you can't
Yeah.
say that because it has all sorts of other connections. So we
Yeah.
changed to cultural connection. So you got Luke. I get exhausted and struggle in large groups, but enjoy people in small groups and love. Exactly. And I think that's the misinterpretation, is the fact that introverts don't dislike social stuff. They don't dislike meeting people. They don't dislike talking. We just don't like a busy room of 30 people that we don't actually give a crap about.
Yeah, I think this one's really important. Can be extremely shy and awkward in certain situations, but things like job interviews or business, I'm completely different.
Yeah.
That was me. So I used to be incredibly shy. I talked about this on the last episode of kind of what turned me into an extrovert, which was a college project where I was forced to be the one who had to entertain. And when I realized I didn't suck at it, I just suddenly got a lot more confidence in myself. But that's because I had control over my conversation.
Yeah.
That's what you can do in the small groups. I can talk about card games all day with the right group of people. I can't talk about cars and the latest season of Doctor Who because I haven't got a chance to watch it yet. So I shut down because I'm worried that anything that I say is going to just be moronic, and I'm gonna look like an idiot, and then I'm gonna be the one that everyone's turned to because I have a natural ability to be the one everybody turns to.
It's certainly tricky.
You're not the same with us. Also, we value diversity and inclusion. Oh God, that would be a fun one. Diversity and inclusion in L&D, I think, is a topic that needs to be talked about more.
What, and the fact that you can't train it because it's not a skill. It's you basically just need a course saying don't be a racist, bigoted dick. That's it. I think that's it. There's nothing more. It's
I think there's that. I think there's also the element of bringing in outside resources.
Yeah.
With that are naturally diversive and inclusive.
Yeah.
And kind of understanding the corporate culture when that becomes a series of checkbox. Like I hate when a company basically says, make sure you find people who aren't white. And that's like the top line of an email in your stock footage. I'm like, just stop. Oh man, I hate that crap. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation.
Well, yes, maybe that's next month. Maybe we could do a special on it. I should point out, while I'm saying it's not something you can train, I think L&D has a role to play in it, but I don't think that
Yes.
role is training people. Because if you're employing racists, you can't train them to not be. Sorry,
SNL will
doesn't
do a
work like
better
that.
job at training on diversity and inclusion than I ever will.
Exactly. This is it. If by the time someone has a job, if they have those beliefs, you're not making them change. You shouldn't have
Yeah,
hired the person, but you're not making them change.
right.
But there we go.
Um,
For me, I think it stems from L&D originally being seen as just face-to-face training. I think that's a great point there, Phil.
oh yeah.
I think for so long, that charismatic thing, that element, that X factor that some facilitators just had, is what got them great happy sheets, right?
Mhm.
Because we used to, well, we still kind of do ask, were you engaged? Did you enjoy the training? Was the trainer your best friend? Will
Yeah.
you go to each other's weddings now and pretend you know each other in 30 years' time? All that rubbish that's still very much part of L&D culture.
That's what people
Um,
want because that's what people think works.
yeah, yeah. It's because we're kind of an industry obsessed with being loved.
Um,
It's kind of L&D's undercover narcissism problem. Did you enjoy your training? Did you like your trainer? Would you like to see more of this kind of content? All of these things
yes.
are irrelevant
Did
to
Bob
our
make you
function.
smile? Let's
Yes,
stop.
that's it. But
Um,
there we
no,
go.
it'll be really. I mean, that's so we got to keep that in the back of our mind because that's gonna be really interesting when we talk about L&D training mindfulness. Um,
Absolutely. And there's some good connections there. Um,
so
but yes,
um,
for me, I think the biggest overall thing that's kind of coming up here is just that introversion isn't what people think it is, and that they are
mhm.
bundling a series of other issues. You can be an extroverted person that suffers with shyness. You can be an introverted person that wants to be an actor.
Yeah,
I studied performing arts. That was my initial education. I spent my
mhm.
time on stage learning instruments and acting, and then lighting and sound, and found that I loved that as well.
Yeah.
It's not an
Also,
inability to communicate or perform or deal with other human beings. It's just a different way of wanting to do it.
yeah, and I love this comment of control over the topic's a huge thing. Which for you, I
Mm,
mean, that's the exact segue. As
yeah,
an introverted actor, you have control over the topic.
exactly
You
that.
know exactly what you're there for, and you know what everybody is there to listen to. So
Yeah,
yeah, of course it works. Of course it's fine.
this is it, and I think the reason it bugs me is that it's so outdated and yet clung to. Because
Mhm.
it's an easy simplification. Why is this person struggling to present well? They must be an introvert. Make them more extroverted. What a freaking
No.
ridiculous thing to say. That's like saying, why are they a bad presenter? Oh, because they're a bad presenter. What's the solution? Get better at presenting.
Yeah, no, it's to stop using PowerPoint, and that's the only answer.
Yeah, but it's skills, isn't it? This thing, it's a cop out to blame it on some kind of, oh, there's something wrong with this person. Not operationally, we as a training department have failed to impart the necessary skills.
Yeah. Or
Um,
I want to add to that setting the proper expectations of what you want people to get out of.
mm,
Because the expectation of training should not be that people got engaged. It should be that people fucking learned something.
yeah,
That's what it needs to be. And
absolutely.
that's just when you are talking with the executives who don't know how training works, and who just don't really have the time to listen and go through it. That's the expectation of people enjoyed their experience, not did it help you, because you can't track did it help you. They don't know that. They're going to say yes in the room it helped me because that was in the moment, but 6 months down the road they're not going to know.
And this,
But at least the exec can look and say it looks like they had fun.
that's it. And a couple of episodes ago, it might have been last episode, we were talking about the importance of data and how it doesn't end when you leave that particular whatever that
Mhm.
training was. It's about those constant check-ins, those looking at company data, knowing what your milestones are going to be and what difference you want to see. That's where you get that data from. Quite frankly, what someone says when they just done the training is kind of irrelevant. Unless it was this was factually incorrect or I found this offensive, everything else is just hopefulness. Will you
Right?
implement this? Yes. Oh, well, that's problem solved then. Can you now do this? Yes. Excellent. There we are. 100% compliance moving forwards. Of course not. It's never going to be what happens. It's that data that comes later down the line that we have to collect, rather than obsessing over, did you enjoy, will you implement questions, all those things that just, they make us feel better, but they don't actually create value.
Would you recommend this training to a friend or a
Oh
colleague?
God, because that's how workplace learning works. All the courses I regularly do in workplaces, I'm there going, oh, this course, you've got to go and do it. It's the best course on GDPR I've ever had. It's the only course your company offers, and it's mandatory. So
Right.
recommendation is freaking irrelevant.
They should apply that to other things. That was a great meeting we had. Would you bring Janice to that meeting? Would you have been fine with that?
Would you recommend what? And if no one recommends the meeting, will it stop being held? Is that how that's going to work?
Oh, I'm answering no every time. I've got so many meetings I want to just cancel.
This is it. It's yeah. It's a prime example of where we're really not using a good metric. But it's interesting, though, isn't it, how easily we slip from between those two subjects that seem hard. Data and metrics seem very different to introversion, extroversion, and the psychology of people, but they're not. They're so closely linked. And I think this is why the debate keeps coming up within L&D.
I feel like it's such an like I'm now that I've processed this for a good 20, 30 minutes that we've been chatting about it, like, man, it's just the more I'm thinking about if intro versus extroversion is the actual conversation, it so easily breaks down when you start talking about, I'm gonna use it. Practical things.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at your shirt. It's like, I'm gonna read your shirt. That's what's gonna happen. But when you start talking about data, introversion versus extroversion stops mattering. When you start talking about expectations, when you start talking about actual things that matter and produce the results that you need, not the ones you want for the next meeting, intro versus extro means nothing. It falls apart. I didn't really acknowledge how fast it does until I realized how quickly we stopped talking about those two things and how hard it's been. We have to like manually go back to intro versus extro. It's just expectation setting.
Absolutely. And I think,
I don't know who e-learning out loud is, but I love you so much.
that is Joe Suarez's channel. So if you're in the chat and don't already follow Joe's the other Joe's channel, do so. Subscribe. It's awesome. He actually posts regular content where he has a slight one up on me.
Nice.
We do a live stream every month, and sometimes there's some content released in between. It's all good.
I stopped coming in as training as blank because I haven't posted in there in a year and a half. So now I'm Dex and Drafts. By the way, I'm Dex and Drafts and in the chat, guys. Cards and beer. Yes, NPS score needs to go away. NPS score is the introverted metric. No, wait, that's cruel. That suggests it's a flaw.
I mean, NPS is a product sales and marketing metric. And to me, it's the prime example of L&D grabbing at stuff it doesn't understand to make itself sound better to the business. Other parts of companies were talking about NPS, and suddenly NPS needed to be part of L&D. It's irrelevant.
I don't understand your business, but I understand what 9 out of 10 looks like.
The trouble is, 8 out of 10 is terrible an NPS score.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it started on 7. I thought it was 8. 8 through 10 was promoter, wasn't it?
No, only 9 and 10 are promoter.
Only 9 and 10.
This is it.
I think it was off by 1.
It's a real harsh score. NPS was created to take people's bonuses away.
I don't disagree with that at all.
That's literally why it was created. I can't remember which company it was, but a bunch of executives basically said to the stats guys, we want to cut down on bonuses without cutting down on bonuses. We need something to replace like typical customer satisfaction scores, right? So away they went, and back they came with NPS, in which detractors massively hurt the score, promoters increase it in a tiny way, and which is most of the table, becomes diabolical. In the original thing about it, they turn around and say someone being unsure is worse than someone not wanting to use your business. What?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that in of itself should tell us how much of a bullshit metric we are looking at. I would much rather have someone unsure than say absolutely no. Unsure, I can persuade. Absolutely no, I cannot. It just makes no sense. But yeah, that's the history of NPS in a nutshell, and why it should be gotten rid of and killed. Yeah, so I think to round that kind of conversation off, I think the debate will carry on forever. As long as we're still kind of putting surveys out in training about introversion and extroversion, we're gonna pretend that one is better than the other, or that we want something over the other, and there's so much junk science around it. That's the problem. So many books about how to be more this, or why you should be that, or might be this, or then we start creating other categories because we don't want to say you're an introvert or an extrovert. Well, why can't we say that? It doesn't mean anything really. Like you say, in practical terms, what's the problem?
Right. I
But
apologize if I'm a little bubbly when it comes to the connection. Connection decided to just be done, I guess. So
oh
just
dear.
let me know. Just letting chat know that's the thing. That's life today.
Cool. So yeah, I
Um,
think it will go on, but maybe we all just need to put just a bit less focus on it, or at least focus on the fact that the thing that we're talking about is not a disability versus a skill set. We're just talking
mhm.
about two different ways of interacting with the world. That's it. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Just set
um,
better just set better expectations when it comes to results, guys. That's what I want. Tell superiors who don't do this job what success actually looks like and how you can prove it works. And don't make it be a number.
nice. Well, there we are. That's that problem solved. Next up, world hunger.
Yeah, we did it. We're done.
That's
Congrats.
cool. So,
Cheers. I'm gonna finish this just to be proud.
tell you what, let's touch on the not so global internet. Now, you
Oh,
told me about this
I should do
story,
that.
and it did make me laugh. So you run us through the run us through what happened.
Really, this is really simple. So LinkedIn, we all know LinkedIn. We all love LinkedIn. Can't get in China anymore. Just if you're in China, LinkedIn is not a thing for you. And we've seen it. I mean, we see it plenty with just China's always been a topic of discussion. We saw it with TikTok, where other countries are blocking TikTok because their data centers based in China. A decision I agree with, but that's a whole mess. But now it's the tables have turned and LinkedIn's just off. I'm gonna see if I can. I gotta remember what the logic was. LinkedIn China.
Ideas not acceptable to the People's Party of uh, China is the one that you tend to get, isn't it? Or ideas
Yeah,
that are incompatible with. Um,
that's right. I remember what it was now. The challenge is that because it's China and because there's a lot, they're very, very protective of data and very protective of everything. If LinkedIn wanted to operate, they had to operate it locally. And that required resources and manpower and regulations and all of that. And LinkedIn finally just said, screw it, not doing it. And that sucks, especially given how much we know is coming out of China and how impactful they are with the rest of the world.
it does.
This is not a platform I want to see gone.
No, no, no. But I've got to say, my kind of initial response is good for LinkedIn. I'm
All right,
kind of
that's
fed
fair.
up
I'll
of
give you that.
businesses buckling to this because they've all done it. Twitter,
Okay.
Facebook, all Facebook subsidiaries, which is the rest of the freaking internet.
Meta.
Amazon.
It's
Don't get me
meta now.
started
You
on
know that.
that. Yeah, that says everything, doesn't it? Uh,
It's the metaverse
if he could
because
possibly have
we
made
met a lot of
himself, sorry, carry on.
we met a lot of people on Facebook. So it's meta.
Yeah, that's totally what a guy like him means by it. Um, if he wanted to make himself less popular, even among tech people, he found a way, man. He was there. But they've all done it. Apple's done it. All the big manufacturers have done it. I'm tired of seeing all these tech companies that will fall over themselves to say how they're doing X, Y, and Z for the social good or whatever, claiming to be a good thing for the world, propping up a horrendous regime. on the basis of we want their money. Well, that's not supporting the social good. That's not improving the state of the world.
Right.
If you actually meant any of those things, then you do what LinkedIn's done. You've gone, nope. No, I'm sure that's not why they did it. I'm not a moron.
Mhm.
Companies exist to make money, and that's it. Anyone who
Right.
says otherwise is lying. But that's legally, that's why companies exist. They cannot do anything else than prioritize profits for their shareholders, stakeholders, or directors. That's a
Yeah.
legal definition of a
Yeah.
business.
They need to have a
Um,
damn good reason to do
this,
it.
this is it.
Mike's talking
What?
about all the meta memes.
Yeah.
I just have to
This.
call out my favorite, which is Jar Jar in the place of Mike Zuckerberg saying Misa. And it's great.
God, this is
Oh.
yeah. I must admit, if ever there was a PR stunt that was probably not going to do much to help, this was it.
All right. So where does this go? I think that's the reason I wanted to bring this one up. And
Yeah.
like we've now seen a clear divide. Somebody has drawn the line in the sand and said we're not doing this. We know how big those markets are. We know where L&D space is in China. We pop on Learning News and we see acquisitions all the time. We know LinkedIn Learning's still a thing, and it's Microsoft, so they're Microsoft, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically Microsoft saying no.
Which surprises me because
How far did this
they're
go?
another one that's knuckled under before. Because otherwise Windows wouldn't work over there with all the data gathering that does.
Right.
So yeah, I want to say, like, I desperately want to say they're taking a brave stand and this is a good thing. I reckon in 6 months they'll very quietly
Sneak back in.
and that'll be that. If I'm honest, I think that's what'll happen. There'll be some wrangling about who covers the cost of opening the data center and all that kind of stuff, and then it'll just go back up. Because LinkedIn isn't going to want to lose the second biggest market on the planet for its product.
Right.
We were discussing something different before the show, and ultimately, if you've got aspirations to be a global product or service, it's the US and China. If you get a decent showing in the US and China, you're fine. You'll do great, because that's the Eastern and Western leading countries in terms of uptake of new technologies and processes and ways of working and all this sort of stuff. And that just in of themselves, they're huge markets because the number of people, the amount of money there.
So
Yeah.
here's a question: what if it doesn't? What if they don't and they're fine and it doesn't change enough? What if we see in Q1 next year that this was cool, this was okay?
I mean, I don't think it will actually impact them very much.
Yeah.
Because when you think about LinkedIn, the only way LinkedIn is making money is obviously ad revenue, plenty through ad revenue, and then through LinkedIn premium profiles.
Yeah.
Call me
You mean there's
crazy.
30 LinkedIn live crappy things they do every day is not making money?
I don't
hate their
know.
live
I
streams.
suspect not.
I hate their live streams. I'm sorry, LinkedIn. I love you guys, but please stop those.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but I don't think financially it will hurt LinkedIn particularly. There's enough money floating around there that it's not. Certainly, LinkedIn Learning is going to be plenty strong. Plenty of businesses and more businesses all the time are buying into that. You think it's part of the Cornerstone on Demand package, which is an LMS
Right.
very much gaining. Oh well, the Cornerstone LMS is gaining market share year on year. With that,
Yeah.
most of those customers are buying into Cornerstone on Demand, so they're getting that.
They just got bought.
This is it. The number of people with premium profiles seems to be on the rise. Just anecdotally, I see more of them. I get more in-mails that I have to delete from people I have no interest speaking to.
You don't want your MBA in 30 different things?
No, actually, surprisingly, I
Come
don't. I
on.
also don't want any software engineering, amazingly. The bit that always makes me laugh is when they go, "We have researched your company and noticed you may need software engineer." What part of my tiny little business did you think would require software engineering?
I'm getting.
It's...
You know what? I have a suggestion for next time. I've got a suggestion for the next topic, and chat, help me out on this one. I'm really tired of, hey, I made a job change into something L&D, and then I get hit by these small little, we are going to make training for you advertisements. Like, hey, use us for all of your course creation needs and curation needs. And I don't mind the voice actors because they kind of got to hustle. They're on their own. I don't mind them. But it's hey, we will design courses for you. Like, I got a job doing this. Stop. You look like trash. I would
Yeah.
love to talk about I'm going to just call it the ID hustle, the L&D hustle. Those industries that have to hustle and do the guerrilla, the grassroots, like, I got to get in your inbox. I got to do that. It kind of stems from the, the whole academy thing and whatnot, but I think this was just more aggressive and less respectable.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, I've got very little respect for the academies at this point. But I say very little.
Thanks,
Replace
Cara.
that with absolutely none. It's funny, though. It's not even her stuff. It's the response to it. That's what's...
Yeah, my God.
You can politely and reasonably disagree with someone. Because it's the internet, you can even ignore them. That's actually an option. Like, if you don't like something, you can not look at it. That's crazy, I know, but that is an option.
I gotta jump in a nerd. I'm about to talk about a nerd product that is actually not gonna follow that. It's gonna be real. I agree with that. If you don't like something, don't partake in it. However, the response goes to the flip side. I want to touch on this. The response also goes in reverse. If you don't like academies, why are you complaining about it? And I think that there's a good answer to it, which is, if I notice a toxic and abusive relationship, I feel, and I can prove that, I'm not just yelling to yell, I think that it's important to be able to say something.
This is the thing. The criticisms that were leveled were not, don't like you. Or, It was a case of, these things are factually incorrect. These things are misleading. It wasn't personal opinion, and this is where we get, because I was discussing with someone the other day, into tricky things, because it's like, it's all opinion. It's like, yes, but there is a difference between informed and or professional opinion and just flippant personal opinion. Now, I don't particularly know or care to know people who are running academies. Nothing against them personally. I don't care who they are. What I care about is their impact on the industry that I do care about, in which I work, in which I've worked hard to do well in, and in which I intend to keep working. And because I hire people and work with other people, it does bother me that the industry is being filled with people with a very limited and, quite frankly, questionable skill set, on the promise that they're going to earn megabucks for doing very little work.
Yes.
That's
I'm your
damaging.
SME. I'm your SME in this because I'm the trainer. Let me spout nonsense with no actual clue, but also presented as fact and presented as things that need to be known. I feel like we're just naturally segueing into training on mindfulness, training opinions. So I figured we'd keep back to the schedule.
Sure.
But, Morgan feels my pain.
Oh yeah.
10 spam LinkedIn, probably I don't know if it's LinkedIn. I've got Panopto down my neck for some reason, and it sucks because they gave me a really comfortable shirt at ATD, but they got to stop emailing me.
It's. I think things have got more aggressive on that front. I think because the market is lively at the minute, because there are more players than there have ever been before, companies are really kind of putting the screws to any contact they've got. They are hammering them until they buy something. And I think it's going to start to backfire.
Because we've been talking about the acquisitions the last 2-3 months, and it's these big companies that are going to need to recoup very quickly. So I think you're spot on.
Yeah. They're going to bring in marketing that the industry is not used to. We're one of the few industries, I think, still, people buy at trade shows. Like, I have had conversations at conferences where people have signed contracts there and then. People have agreed purchase orders at a trade show, at a conference, or arranged a call that is the closing sales call there and then.
Right.
That doesn't happen in many other industries. We're not used to being bombarded, I don't think, with
Mm-mm.
15 emails and a follow-up call and a this and a that and then the next thing. It's quite a sudden shift.
Yeah. We're not used to being that popular, right?
This is it.
I liked being L&D that nobody knew what we did. We'd put a thing out there. Sometimes you saw an Outlook invite and then that was it. And then we just have to tell you what our NPS score was.
Exactly. And just for Morgan's there said learn agile are the worst spammers in my inbox. Yeah, they are a little bit special. I mean, I hold a
wait, I think
special
I've got
spot of
some of these. Wait
hatred
a
in my
second.
heart for agile anyway. But
Oh, I feel like I have one of these.
yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
I do. There you are. Oh.
There we go. It's
Oh, I don't like
again,
you.
nothing personal to whoever is on the other end of that inbox. They are doing their job. They've been told to do that.
Yes.
But as a business move, nah, not gonna work. So yeah, on that note, then training mindfulness. So
But this was
is
yours.
yeah. So this is a topic that I've been wanting to. I've written a blog article and some LinkedIn posts and not posted them on this topic. Because whenever I discuss it, everyone talks about how no, mindfulness is super important, must be part of the workplace. That all this because there's this big movement around well-being of employees and mental health, and this is all very, very good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely essential that it is part of the modern workplace. My take. Learning and development as an industry is woefully underqualified and ill-suited to deliver this content. Sorry, we are. Because it's really, really dangerous.
Okay.
And I feel like well-being or mindfulness is the prime example, kind of gets separated away from mental health a little bit to make it a little bit less high risk, a little bit less spicy, as it were, for creating content around.
Well, mental health is so taboo. Can't talk about that. It's a flaw. I'm tired of that.
And you absolutely should be able to talk about it, should, however, you attend courses on it in work. I think that's much more of a grey area.
Okay.
Does the average business employ anyone with the requisite knowledge and understanding to deliver that training? I would argue very few businesses do.
No, there's no way.
The average business employs a lot of people who have first-hand experience of mental health challenges and all these kinds of things and services available. That does not qualify them to train people about it. The average L&D person, certainly, in my opinion, has no place delivering content on these subjects. And there was an article this week that I read, which really kind of pushed me to go, we're going to discuss this. Let me... it's here somewhere. Boom, there we are. The potential dangers of mindfulness. Now, I kind of feel like mindfulness is seen as... it's okay because we can promote this because it's all safe and it's easy and it's not medical. Well, here is a very, very informed person warning that mindfulness is not just take a deep breath and everything will be fine and all this stuff. And actually, medically speaking, it can do damage because it's not always a good thing.
Is it like keeping it down type of stuff? Like
it is.
just
it's that.
bottle it up.
It can be that. It can lead to in the article. It goes into lots of different reasons. But here it's mostly it's become overhyped, misunderstood, and overly commodified.
Yeah.
The health effects are overstated, i.e., it's applied to everything. And this I've seen firsthand that I'll speak to in a moment.
Yeah, no,
and there are
I feel
other
that.
ways to self-soothe beside mindfulness, and it's not supposed to be a catch-all thing. So to speak about this just quickly from a personal perspective, mindfulness has kind of, in my experience, become what businesses throw at the fact that they are overworking and undervaluing and not looking after people. And so they say, take time to meditate, take time to consider and reflect and all this sort of thing, All of those things are fine if you're in a stable mental state and are properly prepared for them. Because that article actually outlines the potential dangers of things like meditation if you are, for instance, depressed, in which case it can increase suicidal tendencies and
For
suicidal
sure.
thoughts by being mindful, because what you're being mindful of is what's already there. So if what's there is not good for you, all you're doing is amplifying it.
No, I totally agree with that. I have to call out Michael's comment. The biggest issue is that wellness becomes the excuse for poor work conditions.
Yep.
It puts the issues of the wrongs of a company in the backs of its workers and phrases it as an us problem. For reasons I'm not exactly going to throw out publicly. Holy crap! Is that for me? I've seen that so many times. That's such a nail on the head. It's like the concept of mindfulness is a cop out. It's
Yep.
just an easy answer. Um, it's like, hey, it's like when I used to work in retail and they felt really bad for something and they gave us a quarter raise per hour. And
Yep.
that was supposed to be the thing that just solved it. And I get a couple of days of this is exciting for me for some reason. And we hope that that carried on.
Yeah.
Man,
think,
I that hits the nails on the head for me.
and I think it's really important to state that I don't think that this stuff has no place. I just don't think that place is with L&D. I think there are specialists in this field. I think they are highly qualified, go through huge amounts of training, and understand that every single situation in which this stuff comes up is nuanced. And therefore, they don't say, here is the 15-minute course on mindfulness.
Right.
They say,
And let's be really clear.
go for it.
We're not saying this is like a bad concept. We're not saying
No,
that
no.
the activities and whatnot is a bad thing. I think what you're trying to say is like trying to teach to it and have that be kind of a fallback is bullshit.
As it kind of says, this article was really the thing that pushed me to this point where I thought, right, we are going to speak about it, because I
You
think
should
it's
link
just
that article.
absolutely. I even in my mind I had the fact that I needed to do that during this, but I've forgotten, so I will do that now. I will pop that article in there. And it is a well-sourced article as well. This isn't like some nutter on his personal blog.
I know, yeah, Psychology Today is, I know them very well.
He is a well-credentialed man to speak on this topic. But as he points out there, it's not that any of this is bad or any individual thing should never... It's not mindfulness that's bad. It's the over-application. It's the breadth of application. The solution to mental health and well-being in the workplace is not training. It's treating your staff with respect and providing support when they need it, not driving them to the point where they need that support and then offering it. Because that is what businesses are doing today, broadly. That is what I see, that is what I have experienced, is that businesses push people to the absolute breaking edge and then go, well, don't worry that you're about to have a breakdown because we have a mindfulness support system.
Yes.
That's not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, I think I like Luke's term there of reactive wellness.
Yes.
Because that's kind of what it is. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's when you screw up so much that you just throw it out there to make people happy.
And he's making
which is a
exactly
good
the
question
right
for you.
point. Yeah, he's making exactly the right point that there are, employee assistant programs are not gimmicks. They are good ones, proper ones, not the thrown together ones that often happen, but proper ones are staffed by professionals, not professional HR reps, but medically trained or occupational health trained professionals who can offer solid advice, who don't just say, here's a pamphlet and chin up, which is what I have seen on many occasions.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the case out in the UK or if it's the case even in the States. I've worked for a couple startups lately where that access to that group is part of the initial benefits package. So we don't have any sort of like wellness training or anything like that, but we do have it very, very clear that like every Wednesday there's like two little fun show up if you want to wellness sessions. We get a free subscription to Headspace, which I love Headspace, by the way. But it's very proactive. And then we also get the benefit of, if this is a problem, here's a network of people who we have partnered with that do that. They are the wellness trainers. I think that's the right approach. I don't know what your thought is on that.
Yeah, I think so, because none of that is speak to so and so inside the business. You know, those services are being provided by professionals in their field. And it, yeah, I feel the main reason I say it's not L&D's role is because sometimes I think L&D is co-opted to do this instead of the professionals this stuff should be going to. And I know I don't want someone in potential crisis going to my freaking e-learning rather than seeking help from a medical professional, because that's what their business has suggested.
I'm just going to have, like, in that 50s voice, so we've heard you're broken. And it's just, you have like a cartoon character and they're very tone deaf.
This is it. And it bugs me because I think there can be really solid training around the topic, but you cannot train the solution to the topic, because the solution is seek help from a qualified professional. That's it. That should be the extent of a business's dealing with that, because no one in the business is qualified to deal with it.
Yeah.
Is the
and
honest
at that point,
truth.
My training is a list of resources. It's a one pager.
Yeah.
You should reach out to this company, this website, this group of people.
Exactly.
I'll do that in an email.
It should be about providing people with any and every support they need as and when they need it. Not an exercise in training or... I love the reactive wellness thing. I think that's nailed
It's
on
so
the
good.
head, which doesn't surprise me from Luke, because this is like Luke's topic. I knew when I saw Luke was in the chat, I was like, yes, because he's going to be all over this.
Massive large corporate where they drove you to the breaking point and just told you to go to the support page. Oh God, yeah.
Yep, that's the one. And everyone kind of goes, oh no, not here. And you're like, yes, here. Do you have staff working extra hours? Yes, then it's here. Do you have staff taking time off because of stress? Yes, then it's here. Those are the signs that every business ignores.
You know, I have to appreciate something. I just thought about this. I'm going back to my retail days. That this is a weird upgrade. Like, I'm looking at I worked at a large, massive corporate where they drove you to the breaking point and told you to go to a support hub. You know what that used to be? You know that was before, like, the internet? They drove you to the breaking point, and if you couldn't do it, they'd find somebody else.
Yeah.
And that was the threat. Like, this is some pathetic upgrade version of, if you can't handle this, we'll find somebody else. It's like,
it's
no,
the
now we'll
minimum
send you
they can offer whilst looking publicly good.
Yeah.
And again, one of the things that kind of drove me to this is seeing a business that I have personally witnessed cause at least 3 people to have breakdowns. Just from my personal first-hand experience, win an award for how wonderfully supportive they are of the mental health of their employees.
What? No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay,
we let that
because
go.
on paper they've got a hub and they've got training and they've got this and they have a person on the board of executives who is just there to look after the well-being of employees. Well, clearly that person is wildly incompetent. What did he get for that wild incompetence? An OBE. Which is kind of how everyone gets an OBE, but that's kind of setting that aside. That's it's the most bizarre topic, I think, in the corporate world today, and I would really rather see L&D be out of it, and leave it to trained professionals or very specialised people within the L&D space.
Yeah, like you hire somebody for that and just that, which most companies can't do.
I disagree. I think most companies can do it. They choose not to because they would rather make more money. Because that's the thing.
That's fair. All right, I concede that point. That is very true.
Anyone can hire in a professional to do a job, but it's a bit like when something goes wrong in my house. I could hire a professional to come and fix it, or I could make the problem worse myself.
Oh, I can't. I'm such a wuss. I'm like, it's my first house. I'm such a crybaby. I will hire somebody if the toilet water looks weird. It's awful. Wife's just like, just flush it down. I'm like, no, I don't know. This could be a bigger problem.
Oh dear me. No, I'm very, very much more on the side of, what's the worst that can happen? And one day that is going to be an explosion. I just know it. Um,
I watched
but
Home
hopefully not.
Improvement, Tim the Toolman Taylor. I know how this goes. I've been there.
Oh dear. Oh
So end
dear.
of the day,
But yeah,
stop teaching mindfulness and having people who don't know how the hell to do it, and stop using it as a cop out, please.
I think so. And I mean, if anyone's got any other views on that, please do share them. If not in the chat here, then, on LinkedIn or in the comments of this video. I'd be interested to have a discussion with anyone, especially if you agree. That's great. Everyone likes to agree and get together. But if you disagree, get involved. I want to hear about it. I want to hear where you think it's worked and why it works and how it works, and how we're measuring the fact that it works. Or are we
As
just
Luke talks
asking
about
them did they
culture,
enjoy it?
I think this one's really interesting, and it's something I want to look at and I
Yeah.
want to think about a little bit because we're talking about mindfulness, and kind of how it really impacts. And I'm kind of going back to when I was looking for jobs, and for some stupid reason, I'm really good at getting jobs with startups, and tech startups specifically, which tend to have like an obscene amount of money, especially if they're like going through rounds of investment and whatnot.
Mm.
And during that wooing phase, during the interviews, during all that, they're very much talking about the culture as well as all the wellness things. And, for us, it's we can bring dogs into the office at a couple of them, like all the things they do to try to help out with your mental health. And I'm like, I wonder how much of that really is a sell and what the actual culture is like once you're in there. And if that's simply used of, well, we gave you all this stuff that doesn't help you do your job, but makes you feel better.
Mm.
I'm really wondering, like I'm looking at the workplace culture versus mindfulness they support, and it feels like they're trying to play along side by side when I think
Mm.
they're actually clashing.
So, I mean, I've got a very purely from personal experience. I've got a very specific take on this. In that any business that brags about its culture has a bad culture.
I don't
That's been my
disagree with that.
personal experience.
I'm
Because if they're bragging about it, it's usually a load of superficial crap.
trying to think if I've got a good one.
Like, oh, we do, you can, I don't know, have drinks in the office on Friday afternoon, or we have socials, or we do this, or we do that. The best culture I've ever worked in,
No.
the extent of the cultural conversation was kind of on day one, them going, we're not hierarchical here, so if you've got any ideas, shout out, and we'll have a chat about them. We want to improve things. That's it.
It's been
But it
years since
was,
I've heard my door is always open. I think there's a reason for that.
yeah, this is it. It's but yeah,
Yeah,
that was it. And it was the best workplace culture I have ever experienced. Interestingly enough, it was the last proper job I had before moving into L&D full time, where they just allowed me to kind of do some L&D stuff because they knew I was interested and they wanted to keep me, so they were just like, yeah, take over L&D for the area and do this and support this, and phenomenal.
I think it was me in
Really just
constant contact. I loved the
yeah.
culture of constant contact, and I did just some L&D things, and then that was
Mm.
kind of the last job I had. I'm actively going through now. This is what you have done to me. Is now I'm going through my entire resume. It's like what companies said they had a great culture and were absolutely garbage. And the last job that I had boasted the best culture I think I've ever heard from a company, and I got fired for doing my job. I'm like,
Yeah.
shit, damn it.
This
I'm so mad. So mad.
this
I
is
hate the
it.
accuracy of that.
Yeah, I think, and I don't want that to be the case. Like, I want companies to be able to say we've got a good culture, but I kind of feel like if you have to go, we've got this and we've got that and we've got that, it's a
Mhm.
bit like a salesperson.
Yeah.
And you always feel like if the car salesperson is pointing out that you have four wheels and doors already on the car, you probably shouldn't buy that car. And the same thing's true of a business. If they're making out that, we care about results, not hours, well done. You mean you're competent. Great.
Yeah.
That's not a selling point. The dogs thing is a prime example of something that strikes me as, does that really mean anything to anyone? Was anyone dying for not having their dog in the workplace? is that actually, it could be that that's really cool. Actually, that means a lot to some people. And I use, for example, actually, I know someone who's, or my wife knows someone who's a veterinary nurse, and they are allowed to have their animals there in the kennels because they often work overnight, that kind of thing. They want them with them. It's a huge deal to them. That's fine.
Mm.
But in most office environments, if that wasn't the case, would the culture actually be any worse, or is that just a superficial cover
Yeah.
for the fact of you're going to be here for 12 to 18 hours a day because we're going to overwork you, but don't worry, you can bring your dog.
Yeah, it's like Luke's support hub, right? Hey, it's my
Yes.
14th hour and I'm going crazy, but a puppy.
And when
you
you
br-
tell the
this
public
job
that,
is great.
this is it. You get lovely photos on the earnings report when members of the public are around. Oh, you can bring your dog to work. This must be such an amazing place to work.
Yeah. Look, it's a professional presentation that has stock footage of Batman graphics.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, I think often the superficial covers the important when it comes to that stuff. Same with the mental health well-being stuff in the workplace. Yeah, I think culture has been blown up to the point where every company feels like it's a topic they have to speak to, and therefore those who shouldn't do.
So I told you before we started this, I have a fun stat, and this actually segues into it
Go
a
for
little
it.
bit. Talking about culture, talking about opportunities that are out there. Pearson just did a survey of 6,000 women. And it was a little bit focused around the COVID-19 pandemic, but they were also kind of asked about their cultures, and they were they're asked about what they feel about their jobs and whatnot. Percentage of women, currently working women, who say they will take at least one action in the next year to either boost new job prospects or change careers completely. Take a guess, the percentage out of 6,000 who were asked. Will you take at least one action to change careers?
I think it's going to be crazy high, and to me that would be 70%.
90.
Jeez.
90% said they'll take at least one action. And I find this even more interesting. 81% are using the pandemic as an opportunity to reevaluate their lives and careers. 88% want to improve professionals. 77 have concerns about finding a job that pays enough to support them. I'm kind of going to the culture conversation. That 81 during the pandemic, because naturally when the pandemic hits, a lot of people learn to work from home for the first time. And you are now available constantly, as opposed to just being in the office. It's a stat that blows me away. And I think, when we're talking about mindfulness and culture, my wife is also actively changing careers right now because of culture and because of you have a support number in case something's wrong.
My wife did
But
the
it
same
didn't
4 months ago.
change the culture. I just find it blown away.
Yeah.
I'm blown away that number is that high. I felt it was a cool time to mention that stat.
Yeah. I mean, 90% is colossal.
I'm gonna put this in the chat as well.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
can see
yeah,
this.
definitely. And I
It
think
is.
we're seeing, like, obviously we're seeing we've got the Great Resignation and all this stuff going on, but interestingly, I saw, and like, I don't have the stats for this. I'm sure I was watching CNN, because the British news is too freaking depressing. And they said there's a record
for an
number of
upgrade.
people.
Okay.
Hey,
Just wait till Monday.
They didn't mention Boris. I was happy. It's fine.
Yeah. We're about to mention Tucker Carlson, so don't.
Well, there we go. But they were talking about how there's a record number of people leaving their jobs and just saying, "No, I've not got anything lined up. I'd rather be unemployed than go back to where I was." Now,
I did that with Salesforce.
Yeah, I would say that would, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before anyone had heard of coronavirus, you would brand that person nuts.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a badge of honor.
you've just quit with nothing lined up. Are you mad? Are you? How much money do you have in the bank? How are you? Now it's just like, yep, that's
Point of pride. I'm thrilled. Like, good job LinkedIn for not succumbing to China. Good job everybody else for not putting up with this crap. Also, I really hope you get a job because you need to pay bills. But good on you.
yeah. But equally, I think a lot of people will during this process cancel all those subscriptions they've got and start thinking, do I need that? Probably not. Do I need to spend £50 a month on a mobile phone? No, I don't. Do I need the top end TV package with 742,000 channels plus the radio plus the sport and movies? No, I don't, as it turns out. All these things I think people have started to rediscover, and I think for the first time, the work, and it'll be interesting to see how this impacts things like onboarding from an L&D perspective. For the first
Yeah.
time, I think employers have kind of been told, nope, that offer's not good enough, and unless you make it better, you can shove your job. And
Man,
there's
I
not a
wonder
queue of people waiting for it, because
to tie
everyone's telling them that.
to tie this to the other one, man, I'm kind of curious in 2022 to see how that works with
Mm,
mindfulness, given that mindfulness and all this stuff is used as a marketing campaign for companies.
mm.
We already it already was now, but now it's just not flying. I'm kind of curious if people are going to start seeing through the ruse that is mindfulness bullshit.
Well, I think for the first time, a lot of people have had to try and use it. That's the thing. A lot of people who were never going to be a I need support person in the workplace were faced with the pandemic. A
Mhm.
situation, I mean, granted, when it goes, it was totally unexpected. Only if you were blind and not paying attention to the world for the past decade. But, it's whatever. It was totally unpredictable. Not that people have been warning us about it for ages. But
It's on video
yeah,
anyway.
totally unpredictable. And people suddenly went, I need help. I have to work on my own. There's stuff going on in my family. I can't handle this new change or this twist or this extra burden on me or all this other stuff. And so for the first time, people who would otherwise maybe never have needed it have been turning to all those wonderful mindfulness and support teams and realised that they're completely inept. And I think that's not going to be forgotten. And I think there
Well, I
was a
hope not.
concern. Yeah, there was a concern of pandemic is over, back to normal. I don't think that's going to happen. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's a good. There's a lot to be afraid of when you look at numbers, when you look at the NPS score, but when you get into the actual practical data of the things that are happening right now, it's
it's good stuff.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled. I cannot express how proud I am of my wife for she turned down jobs that she could absolutely do, knowing she was gonna go insane taking them, but it was guaranteed income. I think this is the first time she felt truly confident in that.
Mm.
And I think that's just the way that it works now, is there's so much support for do what actually makes you happy, not what you can get suckered into thinking the company will make you happy doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think businesses are going to have to adjust to that. And I think L&D
And thank
departments are going to
God.
have to adjust to that because onboarding people is going to be different. Because
Yeah.
you're going to get challenged when you say those stupid value statements that businesses are obsessed with about how you're a family, you're a business.
We're all in
And
this
how you're there
together.
yeah, you're not because you're earning £4.5 million a year plus bonuses and I'm on minimum wage. Don't you tell me we're in this together. People have had enough of being told that, and I think it's going to shift the onboarding experience. And I think the
Mhm.
way it's going to shift it is L&D is going to have to become more efficient. We're going to have to stop fluffing training up with this feel-good nonsense that people can now see through and start saying, here are skills. Skills that you can learn and take with you. Because it terrifies me how many people have been in a job for, I don't know, they left school and they got a job. Whatever level of education they exited, got a job, and have not gained any actual skills since the day they joined that business. Because all they have learned is how to do their job.
Have you seen 360 Learning's collaborative learning model?
I want to say yes, but I cannot remember it. It sounds familiar.
Throwing it in the chat. Because so this is another one that got bought recently. And now, or not bought. I think they're going IPO because they're doing fundraising insanity right now. And they're trying to change the way that learning works, in that they're taking away. So they've got a top down and a bottom up. So the top down approach that they're against is starting centralized, generic, slow, static, and deliverable driven. And I don't disagree with that. It's, here are the things you're going to take, and you'll figure out how to slot this into your job somehow. I hate it, but yeah, that's what they have. So the bottom up that they're trying to do, the collaborative learning, is democratized. So they get to basically kind of make requests essentially for things that actually help their day-to-day work. Relevant, fast, iterative, and impact driven. It's a funny way to say adaptive microlearning, in my opinion, but
actually,
but I don't
it
disagree.
defines. But yeah, I think it does do a better job because it defines what that is. And I think sometimes we in L&D, hands up, we hide behind terms that others don't understand. Microlearning to me is always a prime example. It's microlearning. Cool, what does that mean? No one knows.
Is it 3 minutes? Is it 2 minutes? Is it 30 seconds? Is it
Is
a
it an
half
hour?
hour?
Yeah, there is no definition. And by using words with no actual definition, we hide the fact that we don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
By using very, very clearly defined words, there is now an expectation set.
In Sweden, a lot of people moved to really small towns during the pandemic. I didn't know that, Morgan. I suddenly really want to look at Sweden. That's kind of cool.
Not gonna lie, this is kind of what me and my wife wanted to do. We want to.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's actually true.
We want to move to the arse end of nowhere in Norway eventually, but that's maybe not going to work. So what we discussed is, well, now that she works from home as well, we can move wherever we want.
Yes.
And so we could move to, I don't know, a small village in Wales in the countryside, rather than needing to stay central to a job. I think more and more people are going to go, yeah, if I can work from home, why do I need to be in London's a prime example? Everyone goes, living and working in London would be amazing. The only people who say that are people who have not spent any time in London. It is the filthiest, most disgusting and horrible place I have ever had the displeasure of spending some time.
I didn't have fun when I was out there. Do I have the flicker? I think I have the flicker. I have the flicker.
But I did notice as well, Michael, he said him and his wife are both transitioning careers because they were both burned out. That's awesome. Like, not that you're burnt out, but that you're transitioning careers. I think it's I don't know. I feel like it's the first time that's been a good thing. Not just if you feel you have to. The mood has shifted finally to a point where we go, yeah, damn right. There's no legitimate reason for anyone to be burnt out. It's not their fault, it's their employer's fault. And if their employer can't fix it, you should leave. And I get that's very black and white, and that, it is, to an extent, it is still a luxury to be able to go, I'm going.
Yeah.
And
I love the movement. We have a bizarre one happening in the States right now. On top of just the normal movement, just people moving. We're looking in the next decade. We've got a whole lot of millennials that are moving to Idaho, Potato Land, Idaho. The only city and people know in Idaho is Boise, because that's the capital.
You would think they would go to where the avocados are, so they could not buy houses.
You'd think smaller cities in California, right? You'd think anywhere. No, Idaho, but it's cool. It's really neat that they're making that choice, and I think that they get to make that choice. Sorry, I had to adjust myself in the chair, so I'm all over the place.
Yeah, I know. I think that is great. I think it's, when people say about how do you, especially in a country like the States, I would say it's a big issue here as well. We have the North-South divide in terms of wealth and socioeconomic status and all these kinds of things. But for you guys, I guess it's more state-based.
We're very state-based.
Yeah.
We've got the coastal cities that are, very, very wealthy and have access to everything. And we got the center states that are just constantly left out.
And the
Um,
more and more young people and professional people spread out, the more those services will be dragged because companies want to sell stuff to those people. They are a core target market. So if all of them suddenly move to Idaho, guess what? Idaho's going to get fiber optic broadband and
mhm.
whatever else. I don't know,
I think what's going to be
Starbucks
really
and avocados.
I think what's going to be
It's-
interesting that they're going to have to deal with, and I don't know if this is a thing in the UK, but it's
yeah.
definitely something in the States, is the compensation formula. So the compensation formula is often for work for home positions, you have a base and then there is an adjustment. There is a multiplier based on how, I guess, expensive, your various cost of living. And
Are
then
you
so for
serious?
me, huh? Yeah,
They
serious.
pay someone based on their cost of living as opposed to the job they do.
So yes, so
Wow.
if I'm headquartered out of San Francisco, which the cost of living is double if not triple what it is where I am right now, um my salary working for that company has a multiplier based on how basically expensive I am to that. Not like double or triple, it's like maybe 0.9, 0.8. It's not astronomical. It's not like I make half of what I would make if I lived in San Francisco. But that's a thing that exists out here. It's a very big model. So if I move to nobody can spell it correctly Idaho,
Hmm.
trying to do a job that should be making 120, 150, but that cost of living is so cheap that it gets multiplied down to 90, 80.
That's appalling.
That's gonna be the next batch of insanity, I think, in the next couple of years.
That's.
Oh,
Uh,
also, by the way, we're trash in America. If you haven't caught that,
I mean, that's
surprise.
like the one thing I guess we have like that in the UK is something called London waiting. Whereas if you live in London, you get like a little bit of extra money. And I disagree with that. The job is the job, and you should get paid however much that job is worth to the company, or however much you are worth to the company. That's it.
Yes,
That should be the
so
only
we actually
question.
get paid
You should
less.
be, yeah, you should be paid for the work that you do.
Yep.
It's the
So if
same
I
reason I get very annoyed when someone says, "Oh, we're going to pay this person less because they're 18 and that person's 25, so we'll hire both of them, but the 25-year-old should get paid more." Why?
yeah.
Why?
So to make it even worse, if I haven't offended you enough, or if I haven't scared you enough, if I who lives in Colorado, which is mid to high cost of living, decide to up and move my family to say Kansas, which there's no cost of living because it's Kansas. Um, there are companies out there that would say, we see that you are moving, we hear that you are moving, we're going to need to adjust your rate of pay to our new formula, to the formula for
Yeah,
Kansas. And I
yeah,
think that's going to blow a lot of people's minds, and I think it's going to get more popular.
yeah. I guess it depends. My hope is that people will not stand for it. Realistically, people stand for far too much, so they probably will just go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
But it's
I mean,
interesting.
I know we're not standing for crappy work conditions, but the luxury of being able to work from home is just another one of those fun mindfulness marketing tools that I don't think we're smart enough to see through.
Maybe, yeah. Two things I would say, just to kind of where we can go. We'll kind of cap this one off so we can talk about tech before the end of the show. But
Mm-hmm.
two quick things from me. One, in response to Morgan's thing, Sweden, people are moving to the northern regions where it's dark and freezing there. That's exactly why me and my wife would like to move to Norway. We want to move to the northern half where you get
No.
kind of half a year in darkness, half a year in the sun.
I've seen 30
Amazing.
Days of Night. I'm
Um,
not going to move up there.
I'm sold on that.
I'm not going to get eaten by
Not gonna lie,
vampires.
if I could have kind of like a gentle snow and a nice freeze every night, I would be sold.
I have a feeling my wife would love that. Oh crap! I can't have her watch this.
It's the goal. It's not quite that north. The goal is kind of the Trondheim region, somewhere in that
Okay, I know what you're
kind
talking about.
of part. Maybe I think it's, yeah, Yeah, that's what we discussed with the Arctic Cathedral because that's beautiful. But yeah, that. But also, I think this debate covers one very particular, or a couple of particular portions of the workforce, and we have to remember that because it feels like this applies to everyone. And actually, there are a lot of people still working in terrible working conditions with no other choice. This is very much what we in Britain would call the upper working class, what I guess the US would call the middle class, because you don't really have you don't have a proper class system. Um,
No.
which is not a bad thing, by the way. That's a very good thing. But we would say you're what we would call the general working class, i.e., and I'll use it as an example, the people working in an Amazon warehouse. Amazon has got no shortage of staff. And those people don't have the option of just going, I'm going to quit with nowhere to go, because they'd be homeless the next week.
Right.
This is a luxury that a certain portion of the workforce has. And I think it's important in the discussion to kind of remain aware of that, because I think it gets overlooked. I think it breeds resentment quite a lot of the time.
For sure.
It's tricky because we say people aren't going to put up with terrible working conditions anymore. Well, I can't think of much in the Western world. I can't think of many worse than Amazon. Where here it was revealed that delivery drivers were having to go to the bathroom in plastic containers for fear of missing deadlines and losing their jobs in their
No
vans.
different here.
And when that came out, what was the response? Nothing. No one gave a crap because everyone wants their parcels delivered next day. So there is an inbuilt level of hypocrisy to all of this. And I say that as someone with an Amazon Prime account, so I don't exclude myself. There is.
I hate that it's one of those industries.
Hypocrisy within it.
I hate that it's one of those industries that I'm excited to watch the machines and the technology take over and become automated. Like, I'm sorry, I know that puts a lot of people kind of in a weird spot when it comes to work.
Long term, it's the right thing, though. That's what we should be looking at. We should be looking at upskilling people so that everyone enters the workforce with an actual skill set, and then saying no one has to spend 12 hours doubled over a conveyor belt shifting boxes and destroying their body by age 45.
Yep.
No one has to drive a delivery van for more hours than are safe using a plastic bottle as a toilet for fear of losing their job.
Yeah, absolutely insane. One of these days, we're going to have a chat about skilled versus unskilled workers and whether or not the terms are good for the industry. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on that one.
There's no such thing as an unskilled worker. If a worker has no skills, they wouldn't be doing a job.
Be a fun conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe next time. That'll be a tricky one.
I think I've got 3 for next time. I've got 7 for next time.
I'll have to make sure I've not got a red flag in the corner or anything when we have that debate.
I mean, it's all about how you define that word. The word skill and the context around it is so dicey, and I think that's where the debate is always.
Yeah.
Of
absolutely.
What are you specifically determining as a skill? But anyway, that goes for later. We want to close this off. We have some fun. There's some fun news that exists out in the world.
Cool. Yeah.
With like new toys. There's not new toys. It's just things.
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of tech stuff happening. I think there's going to be a big tech shift in the next, I think, 12 months.
Let's go, Captivate. Come on, show me what you did.
I've got nothing on Captivate. I've got nothing.
I know.
They did that amazing expo moment, and then
it's like deleted. It's like gone.
But there's going to be so many big shifts in the broader tech world, and so many authoring tool and learning and development kind of platforms and software companies are being bought up by tech companies and investment companies. I think they're going to move with it. We've got the biggest jumps forwards in terms of microprocessor architecture in a decade, if not 2 decades. We've got the expansion of ARM. We've got so many things going on. We've got DDR5 coming out as a new memory scheme. From a computing perspective, so much is about to happen in the next year. And I feel like it's not being talked about much. But in short, every computer we currently own is about to be made to look like it's 50 years old. It's going to be one of those years that is a complete paradigm shift.
I'm
Um,
excited.
so am I. I'm also getting prepared to spend a lot of money. It's gonna hurt,
Yeah. Same.
but never mind. But from an immediate perspective, Storyline actually updated their software. It works and is useful, like properly useful.
They did. I can't. I'm so stunned. Like when I read it, when I read the update, I was like, "You're kidding."
Hmm.
It's like if Microsoft Word said you can finally choose a font that's not papyrus. Really?
So
Unreal. Okay.
go for it. You
Got it.
take us into it.
All right, let's get through the stuff that we all know that nobody cares about. Yay, more 360-degree VR things. Huzzah.
Wah, wah.
Built-in accessibility features for 360, localized 360 interactions with the rest of your course. Cute, neat. All right. We'll see next year if VR becomes relevant. The big one, this big stupid one. You can finally you can finally import SVG files. You can Articulate 360 has finally figured out that maybe people want scalable vector graphics. If I zoom into something, the graphics grow with me and don't look like crap. 360 finally did that. So we finally have SVG format. We finally have scalable vector graphics in Articulate 360.
This is
Raise
it.
the roof. Are you kidding?
It was one of those where I read it and kind of thought, huh, that's awesome. And the back of my brain just went, no, it's not. It's the minimum required standard of any piece of software launching 3 to 4 years ago. Like it's so incredibly basic. But at the same time, at least they added it.
It's like a mindfulness benefit at Amazon.
They'll give you a
We've
branded
upgraded your.
bottle to pee in rather than having to use a plastic one.
You get it? Yeah. Oh my god, that's like literally the exact joke I was about to make.
Yeah. I hesitate to give them a lot of credit, but it is something that's actually useful. At least a lot more so than the likes of the 360s and the all that stuff. Oh, here we got Michael coming in. Exactly how he felt when he saw the Storyline news. After Adobe's presentation, Storyline needs to do something drastic to show they are still relevant. Genuinely, I think that is the most good Adobe could do in the industry at this point. I don't care if they never launch their product. Just keep teasing it.
Just keep pretending like it, yeah.
It makes everyone else actually do stuff.
Whatever you do to scare Storyline into being on
Yeah.
Macs, which I hate Macs, but like that's the one thing they need to do. If you can some way shake the industry so much that they think that's a good idea, you have succeeded.
Yeah, at this point, I think the sheer cost of creating a Mac version would be astronomical. Because you think one of the reasons Storyline is so quirky, let's use quirky, because saying it's an awful piece of software seems harsh, but it is.
This episode not sponsored by Articulate.
This or any other. You know, it's because it's all so old. At no point have they just said, scrap everything, let's work from a blank canvas. Instead, we've got this stacked on that, with this taped onto the side. It is the equivalent of someone keeping an old kind of 1980s car just about going at this point. Except
like some of
they've
the
replaced
trigger
the
lists
engine.
I do for your files. You walk through my
Right.
triggers, like, what the hell's wrong with these? Like, I kept them from how long are these? Like,
Yeah.
This is like 3 years old.
Yeah, no, this is exactly it. It's they to do that. To my mind, they would want to launch a whole new product. Effectively, they would want to say 360 is done, end of life, and I think this is where Microsoft, to their credit, nails operating systems. When
Mhm.
they write a new operating system, they don't stack new stuff on top of the old one. It's not an add-on, it's a new operating system.
Yeah.
You know,
We just
that
got
is
access
the
to
way to
11.
go.
Kind of neat. I like
No,
11.
I'm not looking forward to Windows 11. That's going to be absolute bull. But that's
I mean,
neither
my
here nor.
wife has it on her computer, and it's not. I haven't seen it be garbage yet.
No,
We have
it's.
that.
I feel like I feel like for most people it's going to be fine. I feel like it's a step back towards the world of Vista. Stuff's more hidden. I dislike the let's look like a Mac feel to it. Like I
That's
like
fair. That's very
everyone's like,
fair. I'll give you
oh, but it's or you know Windows had like it was all files and lists. It's like yeah,
that.
that's called logical organization.
All the
Um,
icons are centered now in Windows 11. Okay, I'll see you on that. I do
this
see you there.
and they know what they're doing because what have they included? An option for
Option-
classic view, where it
Yeah,
looks like Windows again. That's
yeah.
it's a bit
Make
of a
it
daft thing.
3.1, and we're in business.
This is it. It's but yeah, I
Actually, just give
think
me classic view should be Windows XP.
love that.
Or great.
It's but you know, at least like, I was a great lover of Windows XP, but when they said we're coming out of a new version, that was it. This was the new version. XP will be supported to this date, and then it's dead. It was fine. That is the way to do software. Storyline is instead just stacking constantly onto this flimsy structure that is storyline. Whereas what they need to do is say, well, this was great. Time for a new version.
Hmm.
So, and I
Yeah.
get that that's huge. That's massive. But they're also the market leader. The old market leader is about to relaunch their product.
Yeah.
Like now is the time. Now is the time to be bold and brave and say, "This is this is what we're going to do for the future." Michael's asking for a rundown on Windows 11.
Let me jump. Let me ask. Let me do that one in a sec, because since we're on the topic of stacking garbage onto something that a very functional fix would fix, I got to talk about Camtasia, who cannot seem to do anything except add to their freaking recorder.
Just your
Which
monthly reminder that you persuaded me to buy Camtasia because it was so star spangled awesome.
I still think it's star spangled awesome as long as you updated from the first launch. I still think it's okay. I wish that they had their stupid viewfinder when you're recording be bigger than the my bottle cap. Like, this is stupid, guys. Like, if I'm recording, I want to see what this looks like. If I'm recording from my phone, I want a viewfinder that's bigger than this. This isn't hard, but no, I can choose my capture frame rate now, and I can choose my recording dimensions instead of having to do the drag and drop thing. I can actually set random ones manually. Stop being dumb, guys. I like you. I want to not have to eat my words with Tom in a year or next month.
That would be end of year. Let's do an end of year review on all this
You do a
stuff.
beginning of year review. You did this last year.
This is it's true. Yeah, we'll do the big fat instructional design review of the year.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome.
That was great. We had a ton of fun, and I still feel very validated in me saying that smaller technologies are going to start breaking in. I think they absolutely did.
Heck yeah. And you know what? There's some cool stuff happening. If you guys haven't checked it out, I kind of mentioned it before, but I've had a better look now. There's a new authoring tool called Pebble Pro. It's really freaking good.
Pebble Pro?
Yeah. Like, I'm impressed. And there's one thing. I mean, overall, I think it's quite good. But there's it's two things that I love. One, you can import articulate rise courses into it, which it converts.
That's interesting.
That's cool. Talk about saying Articulate's the market leader, are they? Cool. Just transfer your courses over. We'll make that really easy.
So for everybody listening, Pebble, P-E-B-L. Do not spell it P-E-B-B-L-E Pro, because you're going to get the Pebble Beach Pro-Am golf tournament, and you're not going to be able to get away from that.
That's not helpful. The second thing, you can publish your stuff as EPUB, as in an ebook.
Oh, wow.
Like,
All right, I'm on
I
the site.
saw it and was just like, you can do this? Answer, yes. Um, and I just thought,
True.
what a completely different idea. Like, a while back, I was complaining there's new stuff coming out, but it's all kind of samey. No one's doing anything genuinely different. I have never seen an authoring tool offer EPUB publication. That's awesome.
I'm
Um,
in. I'm gonna look this up.
they do a free trial. Check it out. I think
For sure.
it's, I think it's a new tool on the market, and I think it could do with support, um, because it's not cheap. I'll grant you, it's really freaking expensive, in fact. But that is, I think that's sometimes the mistake the industry makes. They think a new tool should be cheap. A new tool has all the costs to soak.
That's not. Oh.
It is expensive. It
Yeah.
doesn't
No, I
look it,
just
and
read
then
what
you
I was
look
looking.
at it and yeah. It,
Yeah, it's
but it
literally what
is
just happened.
designed for organizations, not individuals. We kind of always have to bear that in mind with these tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same as when you go, oh, Storyline's expensive, or Articulate 360 is expensive. It's a lot of money. Is it expensive? I would argue probably not. In that you're getting 2 authoring tools, a review platform, video capture software, video editing software, and a plugin that works in PowerPoint to add interactivity. For 1,200 quid a year, that's actually not bad. Um, it's from an organisational standpoint that will otherwise spend that on printer paper for
Yeah,
one
this is
department.
not.
It's,
Man.
so it's not, I wouldn't argue that it's expensive. I would argue that it's not a cheap tool. It's not on the par of Evolve, where you're talking 30 quid a month.
No, this is so 2,000 a year for their advanced version. Which is the only one that does not limit what you can publish.
Yeah.
But
I
I
think a
gotta
lot of
figure out.
that is
They
because you're
call it
using their
published
server.
pebbles. I don't know what pebbles means. Pebble could be an entire learning path. It could be a single course. So I
It's
don't
a
know.
course. Yeah.
It's a course.
Yeah. But bear in mind that the way they lay their courses out is somewhat Rise-esque with different sections. So they kind of treat it like a book, which thus the EPUB thing. So you can write chapters within chapters. You can have sections. There is a fair amount of flexibility in the tool.
Interesting.
I think even on the limited one, you could actually do quite a lot. But equally, 2K to the average, even small business, is not much. It's not quite a month's salary for an entry level employee.
They're not going to read it that way, though. They're going to read it as double the cost of Storyline.
I think if they do, well, I guess the question would be which is the right tool for your business, and how are people pitching it. I would
Then
argue
they need to do more on their website. They need to do more on their front page.
yeah, it's not inspiring. It is clearly a new tool in the market, right?
Yeah.
I would argue that Articulate's website is among the worst I've ever experienced using. But they have the benefit of being articulate, right?
I'm going to look this up, and I'm going to maybe remember to do a report on it, because I'm very curious about this.
Yeah. But yeah, I think for a cloud-based, template-based authoring tool, it's got cool stuff. It does something I've never seen anyone else do, which is the EPUB stuff. I like the fact they're embracing the idea of books. I'm a book person. I think books are overlooked as a learning resource these days. But yeah, no, my original point being that I do agree with you that smaller technologies have made a much bigger impact this last year than I think anyone expected them to.
I'll have to go back and look at all of our predictions.
Absolutely.
Right.
Cool, yeah. So Michael was asking about Windows 11. I mean, have you used it much yet?
I've used it enough to basically get my wife started. That doesn't mean that I've done anything intricate or insane. It's just getting folders and getting things basic. And I find it to be really just simple. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing because I've seen Windows before. But outside of that, nothing has blown my mind. Nothing has said, what a cool, holy crap thing. They still haven't gotten Snap to work, which I don't know how you mess that up, but you snap one screen and then it wants to snap the other one, but it stays full screen and it's just bad. Basic stupid things. I don't think it's mind-blowing. I don't think it's one of those upgrades that looks like anything different than a DLC for a game.
I mean, so much of it is background stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not going to lie. The biggest change from my perspective is getting ready for Intel's 12th gen processors.
Yes, I know
Because
those are coming.
yeah, because Alder Lake is the first Intel platform, or first mainstream desktop Intel platform that's going to use a little big architecture. So, for instance, there'll be 8 performance cores and 8 efficiency cores.
Mhm.
Now, Windows 10 will struggle with that because when it tries to send stuff to the processor, it's going to go, which core wants this? And it's going to read, my God, there are 16 cores. You have that. Whoops, I just sent Premiere Pro to an efficiency core. Crash. Because it physically can't run the bloody thing. Whereas Windows 11 has an updated what's called Thread Scheduler, which will be able to work with Alder Lake. The issue being, it tanked the performance of AMD processors.
Hmm.
Knocking about, when I switched over, it knocked about 25% off my processor performance. So you bet your ass
Jeez.
I switched back. They now
Yeah.
say they fixed that, but, you know, there will continue to be dances like that. A lot of the changes are background.
Right. Morgan, you're just testing us, aren't you?
Apple Pages doesn't export both.
Does export both because we're
Apple
just Apple
Pages.
fanboys.
I I can't say I really know. What's Apple Pages? Is that like their rip-off version of an Office program?
Probably like Numbers or whatever the heck is their version of Excel.
Um,
Don't tempt me. I have a bottle of JMO and I will use it. I'm kidding. I'm not
yeah.
actually going to drink this.
I mean, I'm. Whilst I do not like Apple as a company, they have recently made some reasonable tech um contributions. I bought an M1 Mac so that I could thoroughly test it and try it out and remain thoroughly unimpressed. Yes, okay, yes. So it's like Word. So yes,
Mm.
that Word, and I mean Microsoft Word can do EPUB publication as well. I was more kind of meaning around actual authoring tools with like interaction.
Mm.
Publishing to EPUB
Yeah.
isn't something that
Oh,
I've seen before.
maybe
But
knocked
yeah,
it
I
down.
mean, I don't think publishing a book is a bad L&D strategy. Um, what's wrong with an ebook? Why can't people read information anymore? If the setting's right, if the subject's right, if the audience is right, hey, whatever.
With how
Um,
popular and easy to make convertible laptops are nowadays, it's not the worst thing in the world.
yeah, this is it. Okay, yeah.
I
So
really want one.
so Pages comes with
Mac.
Notepad with Paint. Um, Okay,
Neat.
pseudo Photoshop. Okay, I could stick with the pseudo Photoshop. Don't WordPad and Paint is not not a good selling for me anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
no.
this is the thing. I'm personally not a fan of Apple's stuff. I don't argue that it's bad. I argue that I don't like it. Um, I don't think they are as innovative as their die-hard fanboys claim them to be. But equally, I know a lot of people just like using Macs, and that's cool. For me, repairability and upgradability are of extreme importance. They are two of the biggest considerations I have when investing in technology. They unfortunately mean Mac will never be a viable option for me because Apple are anti consumer, in my opinion. They don't
Mhm.
want me to be able to know what the parts are, let alone repair them or upgrade them, because I wouldn't have to buy the new one.
But they want you to
And for
buy the new
me,
one.
that's unacceptable. But that's not a no one should buy Apple. For instance, my father called me not long ago and said your two younger sisters want laptops for Christmas, birthdays, blah blah blah. None of them are tech people. None of them are tech people. Like, the router is the most advanced piece of kit in the house, and it confuses people on a regular basis. That's kind of where we're talking. What should they get? M1 MacBooks all day long. Turn them on, and they will work until they don't, and then you buy a new one. Simple. Because they're never going to want to upgrade it. They don't want to fiddle around with settings and Windows and upgrade all this other stuff. They just want to be able to chat with their friends and FaceTime and all this smart stuff that they really care about, but that doesn't matter to me. They should absolutely have cheapest chips MacBooks on the M1 chip. Easy. Would I recommend that for me or my wife? No. We use desktop computers because I want to be able to, for instance, when the 5000 AMD chips come down in price slightly, I'll upgrade the computers in the house, and I'll use the 3000 chips and the older motherboards in the server rack. If Alder Lake turns out to be great, brilliant. I can switch that out and take some components out of these and switch them over, and others I can't. I can move graphics cards over. Recently, as I said at the start, we switched graphics cards here over to a new NVIDIA 3000 series. So I was just able to pull one out, put one in, change the driver, and away I go. That's not an option on one of these new amazing Apple M1 or M Pro or M Max chips. It will never be an option. So it's not for me, it's not a question of one is good, one is bad. It's a case of what's important to you.
Right.
And you buy what works for you and what's important to you, right?
Simple enough.
Sorry, it's a topic
There you go.
I always go off on, but
It's like, I don't want to go. I was like,
stop
starting my computers again.
But yeah, I just want to get out there that it's not that I hate Apple's products and everyone who uses Apple's products and I think they're wrong. It's just that they're not for me. And they shouldn't be for you. And here's why. Cool. Yeah, so I mean,
that's all that I have for updates. Like, there again, as usual, I mean, we're starting to hit to that point. It's October. Code freezes are a thing. So there's not really a lot of updates. November's probably going to be less. Unless Articulate learns how to make the enlarged text button work, and not shrink text.
Yeah. Not gonna
I
happen,
learned from Sesame Street how to follow arrows. I can't believe Storyline doesn't. Maybe they didn't want to pay for HBO.
Oh dear. Anyway. So I guess one thing to finish off from me then, IDTX is still set February next year. It's all rolling along very nicely. We have got now quite a few confirmed speakers actually. I was gonna go through the list, but I have not put it in front of me. But just some of the names off the top of my head. Obviously, Joey's coming back. Kara North's coming back. Heidi Kirby's coming to speak. Let me see if I can grab the list. In other news, the platform is now tied down. It will be Hopin. The event is confirmed for all 3 days. Morgan's got his ticket. That's good to see. So if anyone out there is wanting to attend and hasn't booked a ticket yet, please do that. I don't foresee us running out like last time, but you know, that's not to say it couldn't possibly happen. Let's see who else we've got here. We've got Heidi Kirby, we've got Lauren Walden, Liam Gardner, we've got Kath Ellis coming, Roberta Westwood, Danny Ortega, Daniel Wallace, Shreya Gupta from Amazon. We've got Kate from Seven Taps coming as well.
I doubt that's a beer company.
No, Seven Taps is an authoring tool company. Any beer companies want to sponsor the event, get on board now.
I'll go find somebody.
Absolutely.
It's cool that Kath is joining us. God, I love Kath.
This is it. We have got some really awesome speakers. I am hopeful that this event is going to be even better than the first. One thing I do really want to open up to you guys is, what do you want to see at the event? Get in touch, let me know. We do have this time around the ability to have an expo hall. Now, I made the choice once again to not take on any kind of sponsors. So what we use the expo hall for is kind of up to us. And I'm kind of thinking there are some people who are speaking who do have businesses. And so maybe if they want to have a stand where if someone's interested, they can go and speak to them, they can. Um, but I'm still kind of on the fence. But I'm also thinking, do people want to just demo, I built a cool thing recently? Um, let's chat about it. Or do people want kind of little side rooms where you can go off and go, okay, this room is a room where people are going to spend the whole day talking about, I don't know, video editing. And you can just drop in, and if there's someone else there, you can chat about video editing. Or what do people want to see? We've got a lot more kind of breadth this time in what we can do. And that is largely because of our amazing people on Patreon and all the people ordering the IDTX t-shirts and hoodies and water bottles.
I need to get on that.
So these were actually designed this time around by the excellent Phil Lord David, who was in the chat with us earlier, but I think may have gone now. He did this design for us, and the kind of black and white microphone one that you've seen on the website. That t-shirt will still be done. The one that I'm talking about is this one. The band, or the kind of band t-shirt type thing. We're still going to do that. We just need to confirm all the speakers first, so I can put all their names and dates on there.
I do love that
so
shirt.
that will be available after the event. But this one and the hoodie version of this and the water bottle version of this are available now. And all the money from that does go to supporting the event. So thank you, because I know a lot of people, I'm not sure if they're here because I don't keep the data of people who buy. It's all kind of anonymized by the time I get it. But thank you. I think we've sold something like 60 t-shirts and like 20 odd hoodies and like literally like 3 water bottles. We're not a hydration bunch. I think we're predominantly beer drinkers and coffee drinkers. So a water bottle kind of made us go, eh. But it's been really, really awesome to be gaining that kind of support for the event. So I'm hopeful that we will see people at the event in t-shirts and stuff. That will be cool.
Be fun.
Indeed. So yeah, that's the kind of update on IDTX. If you are, by the way, in the audience thinking, oh, I'd quite like to speak at a conference, do it. Just do it. It's a great first conference experience, I think. Because you can do as little as 15 minutes, as much as an hour. If you want to speak with 4 other people and create a panel, go for it. You want to do something simple, go for it. There is a real variety of people speaking. And it's not all big names. In fact, it's predominantly people like us, basically. People who do the job.
Last was my first, and it was great, and I feel much more confident for the next one. And I had so much support. It was great. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, get in touch, even if you think, oh, maybe, because it's we will basically make room for people. I did last time. Last time we were massively oversubscribed for 2 days. There were no breaks, in fact. Every talk was back to back, which I know wasn't ideal for many sort of viewers. But it's because so many people went, I just want to do half an hour, I want to do half an hour. It's like, do you know what? We will fit it in. We'll make it work. Because I think so many people never get the opportunity to speak at a conference because they don't have the money to buy a place, or their business doesn't push it enough, or whatever it might be. And I don't think those are the reasons we should be hearing from people. We should be hearing from people who want to stand up and say something. So yeah, get in touch. Do it today.
How would they get in touch, Tom?
Yeah. email, get me on LinkedIn, message me on. You can message people on YouTube. All the details are on the channel. However works, get in touch, and we'll go from there. Alternatively, head straight over to idtx.co.uk, and there's a speaker form on there as well where you can get in touch.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, we have been going for a little over 2 hours.
I like how at the beginning of this we said this is going to be like the least active one, and this was easily the most active chat that we had. So we love you guys, and thank you so much for all of that. That makes these fun and makes us completely lose track of time.
Tell me about it. I mean, just to finish this off then, if there's anything you want us to discuss next time, anything you want to talk about, and you want us to chime in on, let us know. We're open to ideas. Like, literally, the list for this stuff was decided on, like, yesterday? Maybe even today? So...
Yesterday. Give yourself some credit.
There we go. I couldn't quite remember. But yeah, it's not as if we have like we must talk about these things, and some of the topics just kind of turn up on the fly. So if there's stuff you want to talk about, let us know.
It's about to be code free, so there's not going to be a lot of tech things happening. There's not going to be a lot of acquisition and financial news happening. So we're in concept land today.
Absolutely. Waffle space. But if not, as always, it has been an absolute pleasure to spend the Friday evening with you all, and we shall see you next month.
Yep. Cheers, everybody. I ran out of beer, and I had 2 of them.
Oh, no. I've got half of one left. Anyway, we'll see you next month.
The second one was this Mexican lager Dos Peras. That's all I got anyway. Roll the ends. Roll the end. Bye.
There's only one place for the breaking news in the world of instructional design. The ID Update with Tom and Joe. All the news you never knew you never needed. Only on IDT.